Today we're going to be talking about this super streamlined, very compact, super basic, I guess you could say, survival kit. And to do that, I actually want to go back to another video I did, which was my compact survival kit. Now, in that survival kit, I talked about the items that I think would make a survival situation in the woods most feasible to come out successfully. So you're going to affect self-rescue, or you're going to be able to be with those items in the woods and thrive while not having a massive, backpack that you brought into the woods. So on that note, and I'm not going to go on forever here, just a couple minutes just to get some thinking going for all of us. It brought up some thoughts in my mind about what's the difference between backpacking or camping and then wilderness survival. For me, when I go camping or backpacking, in my backpack, I'm basically a self-sustained unit with my gear. So I've got a sleeping bag, I've got a sleeping pad, I've got a stove, my food, a tent, flashlights, all those different types of things. So when I go into the woods, if I have 5 days of food, I pretty much have everything I need to survive in the woods for 5 days because of all the gear I have. And I'm not really tapping into the resources of the land. I'm there to hike and appreciate the beauty and be with friends and family, whatever it is. But I'm not, saying, oh, I got to go down to this area and forage. I go fishing here. I have everything I need for those 5 days, let's say. Now, on the wilderness survival side of things, I think there's a couple different aspects. One is like bushcraft, or those woodsman skills. So you're just out in the woods, you're growing, you're learning about different things that maybe people did in the past, or even that they're doing now when it comes to skills in the woods. And that's just for fun, for being outside in the outdoors. The next piece of wilderness survival is that literally a survival situation. So you were camping and you went out for a day hike and you came back, but you couldn't find your campsite at night. You got separated from your group. Now you're alone at night in the woods. You've got a couple pieces of gear. How are you going to survive until you can effect self-rescue? So that's real, like, survival situation. And then the next one is kind of that, how do I get out into the woods with a limited amount of gear and work on my skill set so that, at the end of the day, I can stay alive and live in the woods with a skill set, maybe a little bit of gear, and my knowledge and what I'm doing out there in the wood, with what I'm doing out there in the woods. When I was teaching wilderness survival, the end goal for my students was to say, if you continue to grow and learn in this, you would literally be able to walk out into the woods with nothing and still survive. Is that easy to do? No. But you add in a little bit of gear with a lot of skill set, knowledge, and commitment to surviving, and all of a sudden you're able to do that. So with that in mind, what you're looking at here in this kit is a very, very streamlined, slim kit as far as the amount of gear. It's very small. And the idea was, with this minimal gear, could I get out there and survive in the woods? We just had our second child, our first son, Hudson Taylor Carpenter, and so I'm kind of in the midst of moving into that phase of life and also getting ready to go back to work after taking a week or so off. And then it's winter here, so it's going to be a while before I get out into the woods for an extended amount of time. But when the weather gets a little bit warmer and our family is a little bit more settled, I'm going to take this kit, head out into the woods, and actually test it out to see, okay, now how does it work? Can I actually get out, use this kit? Is my skill set where it needs to be to survive? And if not, what do I need to actually work on to continue to increase that skill level so I could, last for a long time in the woods with this very basic set? So let's take a look at it. We'll talk about some of the details of why I chose the different pieces of gear, and then let's get the discussion as always going down in the comments. What do you like? What are some thoughts? What would you add? And again, we're talking about this size. So for example, don't say I would add a tent or I would add a 12 by 10 tarp. That's not going to fit into this. That's not the point of this. This is super streamlined, very small kit. What would you add? How would you do it? What do you like in the kit? What are you learning? So, all right, let's check out the kit. So as I've been preparing this video and thinking about this for the last couple weeks, I think what I'll do is call this the last ditch survival kit. So it's the type of kit you would build, you'd have it in your house, and say you were going out to the car, you'd throw it into your car, maybe you're traveling, you'd throw it into your suitcase, your bag, and then you find yourself in a survival situation and here's what you have to go to. So it's not the ultimate kit that's going to keep you alive and going strong for 3 months in the woods, but it does offer you a bunch of items that could be very useful. So starting off actually talking about the bag, this is the Condor Sidekick pouch. It's going to run you about $15. You can get it in black, tan, OD, and ACU. You can also get it in multicam for closer to $25 or $30. And then what you see here on the front are 2 pistol mag pouches, and these are actually from a Condor duty belt. And most pistol mag pouches behind on the backside, you've got your straps running like this of Velcro. On these ones, because they're on a belt, you have a strap here and a strap here, and they run this way and like that. So they just attach nicely to this bag. And I'll show you here up close. Here's what it looks like over here on the side. Got some MOLLE webbing, and you can see I've got some Grimlocks from ITW on the back. You can see more MOLLE and a way to attach it to some other form of gear. And then over on this side, you can see I've got a Sharpie and some safety pins there. So that's what the actual bag looks like. Oh, there's one other thing, yeah. Forgot about this. This is from Ultimate Survival Technologies. If you saw my compact survival kit, you know that I have one of these on that kit. And this is actually, it turns obviously on to be a light, but if you flip the battery around, it'll turn into an SOS light. So very lightweight, and throw this on the bag very easily. All right, now let's take a look inside the bag. In this bottom pouch, open this up and you can see we have a Leatherman Super Tool. And this has a ton of different features in it, a ton of different tools in it. I'm not going to go through all the details, but I'm a big believer in multi-tools just in general, and in a survival situation it's nice to have something that's high quality like a Leatherman. This is definitely a heavy one, but the weight, because the pack is so small, or the kit is so small, is not a huge deal. So that's the first item. In the second pouch here, you can see I have my 550 cord, and this is a higher quality 550 cord, and the reason I note that is because you go to some big box stores and they sell things that they call paracord or 550 cord, and it's just cheap. It frays really easily, and it doesn't have those inner strands. So make sure you get something that has the inner strands as well as that outer coating, and this is about 35 feet of that. So that's pretty much it for those two pockets on the front. On the side, I did mention these before. These are called Grimlocks, and these are from ITW. They're kind of a smaller version of the Tack Link, and you can actually run webbing through there on your gear if you want to do that. And then they're spring-loaded here, so they do clip shut and then open. I actually dropped one of these yesterday from a pretty good height, and it didn't do any damage to it. So they're nice and solidly made, and threw a couple on these. Just they serve a variety of purposes, you know, hanging gear, setting up camp, whatever it might be. So you've got some of those on this side, and on the other side, I mentioned safety pins. These are great for a variety of things. Particularly for me, I like these for, you know, medical purposes. So if you have to make a sling, if you have to secure some sort of bandage, having safety pins to do that. And then a Sharpie. And obviously this is good for taking notes, and I'll show you a little notepad I have inside. But in particular, when I think about a Sharpie, I also think about writing things down. And this may sound crazy, but in a survival situation, on your skin, on your arm, whatever it is, probably not on this part of your hand because sweat, or even this part of your hand sometimes because moisture is going to get there, but, you know, up your arm, whatever it might be. Information. So here's where I was, here's what day it is, here's how many days I've been walking, here's how many days I've been in the woods, various things like that, even where your camp is located. It's easy to think, oh, well, I won't lose my camp, I don't need to write anything down, and then all of a sudden you're wandering in the middle of the woods. So having something to take notes with that will work, and obviously Sharpies are known for being durable and obviously permanent. So that's what you have on the outside. Now let's head to the inside of the bag. Now this is actually the front of the bag back here, so I flipped it around, and to show you on the inside of the front cover, what I have first are some fish hooks. And this is one of the big recommendations people offered when I said, hey, let's hear your thoughts on the compact survival kit. They said some sort of fishing setup. So I have this in here, and last time I did a survival outing, fish was what we ate. We caught, you know, a bunch of fish right off the bat when we get out into the woods. So always nice to have, you know, something lightweight, got some hooks, dig up some sort of bait, and now you can be going after lunch or dinner, whatever it is. Also, you can see here, I've got a pencil. And as I mentioned, I'll show you the writing pad in a second, but what I've done here is I've rolled up duct tape on these two sections. Obviously the pencil is a writing utensil, and you can carve this down just with a knife, either in the multi-tool or my other knife I'll show you in a minute. But having your duct tape here now, instead of a huge roll that you're trying to compress down or store, you've got it pretty compact. So we got some duct tape here, and I chose bright yellow just because it can attract and get some attention if you had to affect self-rescue. So now let's look into the rest of the bag. Let me spin it around first. So up top here you can see I've got this vapor anti-bottle, and I've done a review on these. Pretty cool product. So it's a high test plastic, so it's going to take some use. That's, you don't have to be super gentle with it. You can't throw it on top of a fire directly like you could, obviously, with some sort of stainless steel canteen, but try to fit a stainless steel canteen in there. Nearly impossible to do unless you get something that's really weirdly shaped, and then at that point it's tiny anyhow. So this is almost a liter, And I'll show you the other thing. It's here. You get this little carabiner, but open it up, and inside I'll show you that you can see there I've got water tablets. So now I've got a way to purify water. I don't have to even worry about boiling water immediately. And so I've got my water storage container in the survival kit, and that's one of the first items that I threw in just because I knew this is a neat way to have a way to carry and keep water with you without having to have some sort of huge container. Down here you can see I have an orange bandana. This is obviously good for signaling, for medical use, for using it as a filter. A couple rubber bands there to keep it compact, but also you can use those as well. So I got a bandana. Starting over here, got a Gerber tactical pen. Let's see if we can show you up to close there. I'm actually working on the review for this. What I need to do is get a place where I can use this thing, which you can see up the front here. That is your glass breaker or your glass punch. So I want to actually test that out and see how well that works. But high quality pen made of metal. It is a little heavy, but you want something that's sturdy and strong. So this is another writing implement that I have. We'll go over to the knife here, and what I'll show you is, first thing, we have a small compass, and I just put that on the pocket clip there. So not a huge compass with a mirror and all that stuff, but this will actually work. So now I can find out what direction I'm going or where I want to go with this little compass. And then the blade here is the Benchmade Contago, and I'll just show you what it looks like. Really nice blade, solidly made. We call this a tactical folder. You do have a glass punch down there as well. Here's the back side. You can see what that looks like. And I will say here that, I mean, this is a very nice knife. It is still a folder. Now, for some people, when you say you're going to use a folder as a survival knife, well, even something as small as a Mora, fitting it in here, not going to work great. So I wanted something big and stout and strong that I could baton with if I had to. Now, another thing I want to note is that when people talk about survival knives, they usually, one of the first places they go is to batoning. That is good to have a knife that can do that, and this certainly could, but that's not the only thing you're going to do with a survival knife. So keep that in mind. People freak out about batoning sometimes as if it's the only thing you're going to use a knife for. There's lots of other uses, and obviously, nice long blade here. See that nice point there, so that's good for piercing as well. And if you've watched videos out there of people using folders that are well made aggressively, you know they can baton as well. So this is the knife of choice for me in the kit here. Moving on, we've got Streamlight. You can pick up on that. Micro Stream. And this is a very small light. It does have that very cool pocket clip that actually folds back again to be a, you can mount it on a hat, which if you see my review of this, I've done that. So I've got another illumination option in addition to that light on the outside. So there's the Micro Stream. A few more items here. Chapstick, obviously for chapped lips, but also as a source of combustion. So this stuff, since it's petroleum based, will actually start quite quickly for a fire. So we've got that. And then as far as starting our fire, we've got a couple different options here. I do have a Bic lighter, and I had a different lighter when I was first putting this together, but if you're going to put a lighter in a survival kit, get a Bic. They're just better made, higher quality. And then a Fire Steel ferro rod. This one will work even when it's wet. This will work when it's wet, once it dries out a bit. If it comes back to life, sometimes they just get so soaked and beat up that they just won't work again. But in general, easier to start a fire with this than with this, but this gives you more options when the weather isn't so great. So that's why I have both of these in there as far as our fire starting options. And then in this back section, a couple other items. This one you probably know what it is, astronaut blanket. This is great for warmth, and you could actually put this on the underside of, say, a lean-to or a shelter to reflect heat back into you from your fire. So that's lightweight, and there's a wide variety of these out there, but this is a very basic one. And then the other thing I took out was this, which is Repel Sun and Bug. So as you can see, provides sun protection and repels mosquitoes. And this is a huge deal for anybody who's in a place where there's, you know, ticks, mosquitoes, black flies, biting flies, those types of things. So that's why I have this in there. And that, as far as the inside of the pack, wraps it up. And then there's one more pocket in the front, and I'll show you some items in there. In the front of the pouch here, there is actually a zippered pocket, and I'll show you the 3 items that I have stored in there. The first one is a Cliff Bar, and I like Cliff Bars for a variety of reasons. First, they have protein. Second, to me, they taste good. I particularly like the chocolate chip ones. And third, if you get into a survival situation, it's great to have a source of calories, nutrition, without having to hunt or forage for it immediately. So you get up the next morning after having to stay a cold night in the woods, and you have something that you can actually eat without having to go and scrounge around. So that's one item. The second one is, you can see this is a Warrior Wipe, and this is again from our friends over at ITW, and these are antimicrobial. They're basically good for cleaning, and that's good on a variety of levels if you have to clean some sort of wound, and also just mentally. If you're all nasty and you can clean yourself up a little bit, that can actually help out mentally as well. And then lastly is this little pad, and you saw I've got a pencil, I've got the pen, so we've got a couple different options when it comes to writing. And this is great for notes. You know, if you were working through the woods trying to get back to a certain location, you could say, okay, day 1, this is where I went. Day 2, this is where I am. You could leave notes along the way if you had to. One other item hidden down in that front pocket is this, and I have the pencil, less for the pencil, but just more so because it was available and it's flat. And what I have on here is fishing line. It's wrapped around and then covered in some packing tape. And now I've got my fishing hooks, and I've also got my line, and so I can do some legit fishing. You can certainly take the cord out of, or the inner strands out of the paracord and make line, but this is just an easier way to do it. It's super lightweight and easy to carry. So here are all the items in my last ditch survival kit, and let's get the discussion going. Start with some comments below, and like I said, I'll be getting out and testing this kit out in not too long, once the weather gets a little bit warmer and life calms down for me a little bit, and I'll give you a report on how it holds up and what I think about it. As always, thanks for checking out the video. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and check us out on Tumblr. Take care.